Thank you very much, Ruth, and I'd like to start off by saying thank you to the team at Jobs Expo for having me this morning, and thank you for you lot for coming out, braving the pandemic, braving your weekend, for listening to these and coming along to the stand. So, we'll get going. So a bit about me. I'm the General Manager of Dublin Coding School, so we're a tech education provider based in Dunleary. Studied in these places, but we'll move on anyway. I was well introduced by Ruth. So yeah, we're Dublin Coding School, so we're a tech education provider. We're a school for adults who are looking to change their careers and maybe move into the world of tech. But a bit more about us a bit later. I'll get on to what we're going to speak about in this presentation, which is how tech has changed the world and what is the tech skills gap. Now, I'm talking about this in relation to the world of work, so your working life. So when you think about change, you want to think what's causing this change. So I'll talk about it in relation to maybe some of the things that are driving this change, and we'll look at some industries that have been changed. So the first thing that's changing it is obviously technology innovation. It's moved on. Customer expectations as well. If you're working somewhere, you're generally going to be working for a business that has customers, and those customers now might be expecting different types of services in this day and age. Another thing that can drive change is government policy, and we'll have a look at an example of that. And then also natural competition. What I mean by that is, if one company does something with regards to technology, then their competitor will go, hang on, what's happening here? We better react, we have to do it too, and it just spreads throughout an industry. But we'll get into some examples now. So first of all, the evolution of technology. I mean, one of the main ones you're looking at here is your cell phone, which I'm sure you all have in your pockets. An iPhone or a Samsung. So the smartphone, it's more technology in it than put the first men on the moon. We've moved on quite a lot from these very large mobile phones. I don't know if you've all seen the film Wall Street, Gordon Gekko on the big phone, but we certainly moved on from those days. What would a Wall Street trader be using now? Certainly not one of those phones. Anyway, they'd be looking at many screens, they'd be doing data analytics, very different than Gordon Gekko's gut feeling on his big phone. So if we look at customer expectations, first of all, and that's driven by me, by you, by everybody, we're customers. And we expect the businesses we engage with to use technology. So if you take a simple example like Tesco, somewhere like that, if something goes wrong with our shopping, even in store, we probably go on their Twitter feed to complain, or we email them, or we phone them, or maybe we get an email from them about a discount, but we might get back to them on Facebook. So because we're hyper-connected as people, businesses have to be hyper-connected too. And of course they need staff then to man all of these different channels and to be up on all of these technologies. So they move from being what you call multi-channel to omni-channel. They have to be able to manage these, which opens up jobs for people managing social media, data analytics of course, websites, phone apps, all of these need to be created. Real headache for some businesses. And of course, they need new staff, new types of staff to do these things. A good one to look at actually is the banking sector. So let's have a look at how banking has changed over the years. So in the past, I don't know if some of you might be old enough like me to know, but the banks would shut down at lunchtime, close very early, they just locked their doors, you couldn't get in, not very customer friendly. They might have a phone number and that was about it. But now, you're looking at a 24/7 app, you can transfer money around, websites, all of that type of thing. And all of that is powered by technology, and there must be staff, people behind that technology. And I knew a lot of people in Bank of Ireland. In fact, we've got 3 lecturers at school working at Bank of Ireland, and they have huge data analytics teams now, looking at everything from how ATMs are performing to your credit score to whatever it might be. So if we look at when banks started out in the Old West, so there's Wells Fargo, what do you think was on these CVs, the CVs of these guys? Might have been, can you use a weapon or a handgun? Are you able to count? Certainly no women there either. I mean, they were what a bank worker looked like. They were worried about the bank being robbed. How do we transport the money? Probably in a stagecoach or a train. Nowadays, it's cybersecurity, and it's data analytics, algorithms, apps. A machine might turn you down for a mortgage within 10 minutes, and that machine has a data analyst behind it, making sure it's ticking along. So the types of jobs and training you need now to work in a bank is completely different. Even if you look here, Barclays had to react to PayPal with their own little thing called Ping It, and they had to have a whole team behind that, web developers, data analysts, cybersecurity people, putting this together. That, of course, is them reacting to a startup, well, not a startup now, but at the time, PayPal. Just another example of how this can happen and how banking changed. A quick one on government policy. So this is how a government can quickly change an industry and create lots of tech jobs. So the Germans, in 2012, came out with this policy called Industry 4.0, which is 4.0. And what they meant by that was, they called it the fourth industrial revolution. But what they really meant was, they wanted to digitize their factories. And the reason behind that was China. So they couldn't compete with China on wages. They wanted to keep German wages high, but they did want to compete with them on manufacturing. So they decided to really look into automation, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, which is basically having connected devices that speak to each other, to make their factories more efficient so they could compete. And German cars still on top, aren't they? And this is what they would see. This is what they're calling Industry 4.0. The different, if you look at the first industrial revolution, there is steam. Steam was the technology powering that. And then you get into robotics. A bit more on that, we could probably skip ahead. We don't want to go into too much detail on it. But what it did was, it opened up all these new jobs in Germany for data analysts, for web developers, for cybersecurity professionals to work in their manufacturing sector, which weren't there before. And of course, the companies were given breaks by the German government to change around and hire these staff. So that's just an example of how a country turned around, created lots of jobs in tech. Quick one now on competition. So I don't know if anyone here remembers the baked bean wars, the bread wars. Now what I mean by that was supermarkets in the UK and Ireland lowering the price of bread and beans for people who'd come in. And eventually they actually gave away a can of baked beans to someone who'd come in to shop in their store. So they were actually losing money on it. And the reason was that that's how they used to compete, which led to what's called a Mexican standoff, where if you ever seen a sign in a shop that says, if you can find a cheaper one in another shop, we'll match it. If you've seen that, that sign isn't for you. That's actually a sign for their competitors saying, look, don't go there because we're willing to go all the way. That's what that means. So they really found that's not really a great way to compete because everybody loses money. So these days, they compete on technology. So it's about being more efficient. You mightn't know this, but the shelves in the supermarkets have sensors in them that tell them when the products are running low. Send an email to a human who then has to restock those shelves. That's a new technology, so that takes data analytics, that needs IT people to run those things, etc., etc. There's even automated checkouts that turn on when they have sensors that see that the queue in another checkout has got too long. So there's all this tech whizzing in the background in a place where you mightn't think that there are any in your local supermarket. Quick one on the role of the marketer. So a job a lot of people might aspire to, really good job as well, to be a marketing professional. So what does it take to do that these days? Well, when it started out, these were your marketing professionals. So they were really all about coming up with catchy phrases, copywriting, coming up with jingles and songs, and analysing products, coming up with posters. And that's what they did. But nowadays, it's all about web design, social media, images, data analytics, analysing who's clicking what, customer segmentation. Even looking around here, they'd have broken us all up into age groups, categories, what do we do, all of that type of thing from our online behaviour. And that's what marketers do now. So if you want to get a job in marketing now, you have to have these technical skills. And I just thought, if you went back in the DeLorean in Back to the Future, which was the car there, and you got the very best marketer from 1985, and you brought them back to today, they wouldn't be able to do the job. They'd get fired after 2 days, because all they'd be talking about is jingles and good copy. They wouldn't be able to do the job, it's too technical now. So what does this all mean? Well, companies need new skills to keep up. And what we mean by that is they need a different type of worker. They need workers that understand how all of these technical systems work. They also need to be able to protect them through cybersecurity, test them through automation testing and that type of thing. And it's led to a tech skills gap. So I'll quickly talk about what the tech skills gap is. I'm going to use the example of data analytics. So according to IBM, a very large tech company of hardware and software, over the last 3 years, the need for data analysts grew 28%. Now that's globally, so that's quite a big jump. Also LinkedIn, if you know LinkedIn, it's like a Facebook for CVs. Well, on LinkedIn, data analytics, or being a data analyst, is the 3rd top job in emerging jobs. So this all sounds really good. However, the European Commission has estimated that there'll be 484,000, it's almost 500,000 data analyst unfilled positions by 2025, which means that there'll be companies advertising for data analysts, and there won't be enough trained to take the jobs, to the tune of 484,000. Now that's across the EU, so let's have a look at Ireland. So in Ireland, Skills Ireland, which tracks these things, they're saying that there'll be up to 146,000 people by 2022. That's next year. So that's roles advertised where people aren't qualified to do them. So there's opportunities if you become, I guess. Also, they say there's 8,000 plus tech jobs coming on stream annually. And I personally think there's more than that. We do watch them here, so a lot happening. So what's causing this? Now, this is at first looks a bit like a complicated slide, but it's not. I know it looks like a piece of DNA, if anyone watches those murder shows. But if you imagine this is time at the bottom, and the blue line is technology innovation, so things being invented. And then the green line is education, so people being trained to use this new technology. So whenever technology moves ahead of education, you end up with this gap of social pain, which is basically job losses. And then when they catch up, inevitably someone invents a new technology and it all happens again. So you might think the email was one of those. I remember when email came out first, I was working for a media company in London, and the largest selling conference in the United States for 2 years was emails and email marketing. What is it? People didn't know what it was, people had to be trained in it. Amazing to think that now, but that caused a problem because they didn't know how to react to it. I mean, emails are ubiquitous now, we all know what they are. Now I suppose you're looking at artificial intelligence and companies want to deploy that, and they don't know who to hire because general education hasn't caught up with that yet. So it's that type of thing. That's what's causing it. So what's the solution? Well, there's many solutions, but I suppose I'd be a fool if I didn't put forward Dublin Coding School as one of them. So I'll quickly go into what we do. So we said before, we do short and intensive courses that are practical and hands-on. We're very much focused on the tech jobs market. So what we do is we look at jobs being advertised, and then we put courses together with professionals around those. And we're online and interactive, and it's all live. So who are they for? So it's a school for adults, so not for children, who want to change their careers. And it's designed for beginners. So we train people to an entry level to get into this tech market and start at the bottom and work your way up. And we've had students from everywhere, from retail, construction, hospitality, and even a beautician who had her own salon, and I'll get to her in a moment. She's one of our good case studies. The topics, so data analytics, cybersecurity is a new one, doing really well. Web development, so that's building websites. Software testing, so testing websites. UX UI design, what that means is user experience, user interface design. So that's about designing websites, the look and the feel of them, and making them easier to use. So if you go onto Amazon, for instance, they are constantly looking at that website, saying what will make someone click buy now, or where will we put this, where will we put that? That's what a UX designer does. And then the web developer actually does it and updates the website. So and then of course the tester will test it, cybersecurity person keeping everything safe, including your credit card details. And the data analysts monitoring everything that everyone's doing. So that's how they break down. Our lecturers are from companies like Bank of Ireland, Facebook, CitySwift, European Data Lead for TikTok. We have the lead designer from Hewlett Packard. Our lecturers aren't academics. It's very important to us that they're all professionals working in the field. And the idea is to learn how to do a job from the person doing it already. We feel that's the best way. And if you get your certificate, we don't just leave you high and dry. We have a career centre where after the course, we'll have a career consultation with you, help you write your CV, and we'll also then help you prepare for interviews, and then we'll share your profile if you opt in with our partner companies and also startups to get an internship or an entry-level role, and then we'll let you know if you are called for interview. Our partners are, well, we recently partnered with Google. OneLogin is a cybersecurity company. CitySwift. Scale Ireland's an interesting one. They're an association of tech startups in Ireland, and we place interns with those startups. And also Trinity College Tangent are a partner of ours, and we place interns into the startups that are on Trinity's Launchbox program and Tangent, which is their startup incubator within Trinity College. So a bit now, this is one of our success stories, but you can see it on the website. She's actually made a video. But we had a lady called Svetlana who had her own business, a beauty salon, which shut down due to COVID, and she came to Dublin Coding School in May, did the data analytics course. We then placed her with Tune Release, which is an Irish tech startup which promotes music bands and is a marketing platform. She did the internship there, and just 2 months ago got an entry-level junior analyst role with Accenture. So we were delighted with that, she was as well. So it really shows it works, and we have other stories like that, but that was one I just thought I'd highlight here today. And then just to say, we have what's called a second chance policy. And this means if you do any of our courses, you can do it again within 12 months for free. And the reason for that is, you might be building a portfolio, so you do projects on these courses, so you might want to do it again. Or maybe you found a bit of it particularly hard, so you just think, hang on, I've got a safety net, I can do it again, it's no problem. And then also, maybe you get a job in 6 months and you think, I just want to refresh my memory, so you know it's there and to do again. And we're the only coding school that does that. Now, I did mention that we partnered with Google, so we're having an event with them this Tuesday, which is free to attend. It's an online event, so if you go to our website, which I'll share with you now, you need to register for this because it's a closed-door event. But Google are going to be talking through their internship program, which intakes here in Ireland, and with us. And also, they're quite happy to take people with certificates in Dublin Coding School to apply, but anyone as well. So that's on 5 p.m. this Tuesday, and you can register through our website. It is free, and it's with Dublin Coding School and Google. So, if you did want to contact us, if any of this tickled your fancy, the website is dublincoding.ie, where you can contact me at Luke, L-U-K-E, at dublincoding.ie. Also, info@dublincoding.ie works as well, if you can't remember that. And we're also very active. We've got marketing manager Maeve O'Sullivan, who's really gets us out there, so we're very active on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram, so you can find us there. And if you ask a question there, we'll also get back to you through any of those channels. So I don't know how I'm doing for time, but if we're okay, I can take some questions from the audience if anyone has any. If you do, just raise your hand. No? Okay, going once? Okay, well, looks like there's no questions, Ruth, so I'm happy to hand back to yourself here. Anyway, thank you very much, folks, and hope to hear from you soon.